Hello. You can check if you can hear me. I think let me wait for some few minutes to start. You can sit down. Sit on the chair. Yes, sit down. Yes.
Stop, you're making noise.
Hello, good evening. You are welcome to our second day of discussing diabetes and its preventive measures, management, and then the symptoms. My name is Aminatu Ouattara. I'm a nutritionist, a food safety specialist, and also I have a background in occupational health and safety. And so with this background, we will be discussing more health content, more health issues, especially with chronic diseases and other lifestyle habits. Yes, we are in our Diabetes Awareness Month, and it's a privilege for me to come to you this evening and discuss, throw some more light on what is diabetes, the symptoms of diabetes, treatment of diabetes, and how you can manage diabetes just in case you are diagnosed of diabetes. And like I said, my name is Aminatu Ouattara, but you can call me Mina. And during the process, you can ask any questions that comes up and all that. So let's get straight into it. Once in a while, I'll be bending my head down just to cross-check some of the points I've noted so that I do not exempt any of them. Hi, Daniel. How are you? Yeah. Thank you for joining. Yes, so I will be checking once in a while some of the points I've noted so I do not exempt any. I would like to cover everything I have planned to cover today so that the goal of us meeting today can be achieved. I'd like to discuss diabetes. We had a section yesterday. It was the first time. A lot of people, I believe, didn't see it. So I wanted to go do a repeat today just to make sure that it goes out there, If you have any family member who is already diabetic, you can share with him or her. If you yourself have time, you can sit and listen to the few things I will say this evening, So you are welcome to my program, and then let's get into it now. So diabetes, you see, God in his own sense has made our body in such a way that we can manage, the body can run on its own without any distraction. And so whenever you eat any food, it could be meat, chicken, fish, fruits, vegetables, it breaks down into particles and eventually becomes glucose or sugar. That is when the body can absorb. When it becomes glucose or sugar, the body absorbs it and turns it into energy. Okay, so whatever activity you do as a human being, you get that energy from glucose. That's how it is. So we have an organ in the system called the pancreas, and that is what produces a certain hormone called insulin. And it is that insulin that breaks down the sugar or break down the food you eat into glucose before the cells or your body can absorb and get the energy you want to be walking, talking, doing everything. And so that pancreas will have to be in good shape to be able to produce the insulin. And when there's anything wrong with the pancreas, that means the production of insulin is interrupted. Give me a minute. My baby is interrupted. Can you please hold him for me? Ellis, I'm coming, okay? Let me finish this section. I'll be back, okay? Yes, so when your pancreas is not functioning well, it interrupts the production of insulin. So based on that, based on that, diabetes has been classified into different types. It has been classified into Ellis. I'm doing something. When I'm done, I'll come, okay? So please go to grandma. Give this to grandma. I'll be back. Give me a minute. I'll be back shortly. You can just wait and send it. Let's go to grandma. Yes, so sorry for the interruption. I had to occupy my boy with something so I can focus here. Yes, so I was talking about the classifications of diabetes. Okay, so based on how functional the pancreas is, based on how much the pancreas produces insulin, you can classify diabetes into different types. So the first type is called type 1 diabetes. With type 1 diabetes, people are born with their pancreas, but the body in a weird way the body's immune system begins to fight the production of insulin. It fights the pancreas, so it does not produce insulin at all. The immune system reacts to the production of insulin, so it's not able to produce at all. It normally happens in children, babies, and that one is called type 1 diabetes. So you don't produce insulin at all. The second type of diabetes is called type 2 diabetes. That is when you produce insulin, but it's not enough to digest your food into glucose for you to absorb it as energy and be doing all your activities. Or you produce insulin all right, but it's not functioning well. It's not able to digest. So it's two things in one. You produce, but it's not able to work as it's supposed to work, or you don't produce enough. That is what happens in type 2 diabetes. So there's another type of diabetes called gestational diabetes. That one happens when you are pregnant and your hormones. When you are pregnant, there are a lot of changes that happens to you within your body. So the hormones that are produced affect the production of insulin. So within the pregnancy period, that is 0 to 9 months, you can be diagnosed of gestational diabetes. It's called gestational diabetes because it happened because of the pregnancy. Left with you alone, if you were not pregnant, it wouldn't have happened. But because you are pregnant, it has affected your hormones, so therefore your insulin is not functioning well. And that's how come it's called gestational diabetes. So these three types of diabetes basically can be controlled by your lifestyle. I am not a doctor. I'm not going to give you the medications to stop diabetes, but I'm going to give you the lifestyle changes, some of the things you are supposed to do, how healthy you are supposed to live to be able to get a minute, please. I'll be back. Hello, sorry for hi. Sorry, I left the scene to go and attend. Okay, so yes, so with the type of diabetes, I have discussed it. I just ended the gestational diabetes where it happens as a reason of your pregnancy. The hormones have affected your system, so now the insulin cannot function as it's supposed to function. So we will have to know some of the symptoms of the type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and gestational diabetes. Some of them are similar, others are different, are unique. So if you have type 1 diabetes, some of the symptoms are fatigue. You are always fatigued. You are always fatigued. Another word for fatigue is tiredness. You are tired. Tiredness as a result of you not getting enough energy because the nutrients, the glucose or the sugar that you're supposed to get after it's broken down is used to give you energy for your activities. So if this doesn't happen, you realize that you are tired. You are always tired because you are not getting energy. You are eating all right, but you are tired. You are not getting the energy that the body needs to function properly. And you always, there's a frequent urge of urinating. The reason is because you have a lot of sugar in your blood and the kidney will have to get rid of it. And so as it is getting rid of it, it has to go with enough water. You are losing water. That's how come you urinate much or frequently. There's increase in anger. You feel hungry because there's no energy for you. You eat all right, but when it is digested, the body cannot absorb. So you do not feel satisfied. You are hungry. You are still hungry. Okay. So there's also blurred vision where you can't see because when there's too much sugar in your blood, it goes to affect the eye, the nerves of the eye, the lens. It increases the size or changing the shapes of your nerves, your eye. So it gives some temporal blurred vision. That's how it is. You also have ketoacidosis. That's where your breath smells like fruit. You realize that your breath is smelling like fruit and all that. So with type 2 diabetes, there are symptoms as well. You realize that there's weight loss, severe weight loss. Severe weight loss. There's also the reason why there's weight loss, the sugar or the glucose the body has or is supposed to have and use as energy, it doesn't have access to it. So now it's break down rather the protein and the fat of your body. So every protein and fat or whatever amount of protein and fat that you have inside you, the body will now use that, break that down to satisfy itself, satisfy its energy. So in that case, you become weak because weak and slim. Yeah, so that's how come diabetic people realize that sometimes when it's becoming worse, they are slimming down. That is the reason. And another another sign that shows that you have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, you realize that there's some numbness in your limb, either your leg or your hand. You also have frequent urination there. There's slow healing of sores. When you have sore, it doesn't heal fast. It doesn't heal. It takes time to heal, all because of the glucose too much glucose in your blood. You also have frequent, if you're a lady, you have frequent infection. Small, you have white, or you have a lot of infections, all because of the glucose. Okay. So what are some of the treatments of diabetes? Diabetes cannot be cured. Fine, God can cure. God is able to do all things. But physically, diabetes cannot be cured, but it can be treated and controlled to a minimum level where it will not bring any other complications. So you look at some of the measures to put in place personally. So if you are diagnosed with diabetes or you want to prevent getting diabetes, the first thing you should do is to get a glucometer. It is a machine used to check your level of glucose. So every morning before you eat, latest by 7 a.m., you can check. That will give you the right value. There are different types, but the one you can be using at home, you have to do it in the morning when you haven't eaten anything. That's when you use. Oh, fine, thank you. That's when you use to do that. And then there's also insulin therapy where you go to the hospital for the type 1. They will have to give them insulin because, like I said, they don't produce insulin at all. The body fights it, so they don't produce it. Then you have to watch your carbohydrate intake. You have to watch the type of carbohydrate you take. You should always take the one that is high in fiber. A lot of cereals, carbohydrate high in fiber, and less fat. You should look at your sedentary life. If every time you are at one place, you don't move, you don't check anything. I mean, you don't make your life very active. You're at one place, from office to room to here, and that. It keeps you inactive, and so whatever you eat breaks down and stays there, and it can easily give you diabetes. Weight management. You should also manage your weight. You should be within your weight range. So there's something called BMI, body mass index. It gives you an indication that you are underweight, normal, obese, or overweight. Okay, so it's calculated in a way, but these days you don't have to do the manual calculation yourself. When you go online, there's an app that you can download to check your BMI. If your BMI is lesser than 18.5, it means you are underweight. If your BMI is between 18.5 to 24.9, it means you are normal. Your weight is normal. If it is between 25 to 29.9, you are overweight. If it is above 30, it means you are obese. So these are some of the things you are supposed to look out for if you want to control or reduce your risk of getting diabetes. That. So there are some risk factors. If something is a risk factor, it means what predisposes you to the disease, what makes you vulnerable that you can easily get. That is what is called that is what we call risk factors. So the risk factors, if you have blood pressure, you are at risk of getting diabetes. Consistent blood pressure, every time your blood pressure is high, that means there could be a root cause, that is diabetes, because when the blood is thickened, it doesn't move well into the vessels, and it causes your pressure to go up. There's pressure on the heart, so it doesn't read normal again. It raises it up. If you have high cholesterol, it gives you a risk to getting diabetes. Your diet, you eat processed food, processed meat, fried fish, fried meat, more sausages, salty food. It predisposes you to diabetes. Okay. So the lack of physical activities and sleep can also predispose you to diabetes. So diabetes has other complications. When you have diabetes, you shouldn't be relaxed thinking all is well. If you are pregnant and get diabetes, the gestational diabetes, what it means is that the body is not able to absorb energy, and you need energy to give your baby energy to grow, isn't it? So if that doesn't happen, the baby is deprived of energy, so it doesn't grow too well. It grows, and there can be some birth defect. If a birth defect doesn't happen, then it is born with a low glucose. You check the glucose, realize that's low. It could also be born dead because it didn't go through, it didn't survive. The energy needed to grow, it couldn't get it from you, the mother, because you have the diabetes. So you are not able to absorb sugar from or energy from your food, so you are not able to give it to the baby. So the baby couldn't grow enough, and it can become a stillbirth. You can give birth to the baby normal, but eventually it gets jaundice because it has pushed or forced, the baby's organ has been forced to get more glucose. So there's a lot of things that happens there. Okay, I'll throw more light onto that the next time we meet again. Yes, and then it puts you at risk of heart attack, because when you have diabetes, you realize that your blood becomes thickened, and you have viscosity, so it can clamp the heart and give you a heart attack. So diabetes is very, very critical. When you have diabetes, you're supposed to be careful with your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is very, very important. How you manage your life, how you live your life, how you go about with things and all. You're supposed to be very, very careful. For men, it can affect their fertility. It can weaken them. It can give them erectile dysfunction. For ladies, if you have diabetes, you are prone to infections. All the time you have an infection. If you have a sore, it doesn't heal. You also have to be, in general, you have to also be careful with your limbs. When you have diabetes, your limbs are at risk of getting sores, and it doesn't easily heal. So when you see a small sore, you're supposed to treat it seriously. If you are diabetic, you shouldn't ignore it. As soon as you ignore it, it doesn't heal, so it continues to grow. And when that sore grows, it becomes infected. And the best thing doctors can do is to cut your limbs, because they want to save you. Okay, so we have spoken about diabetes because we are in a month of diabetes and diabetes awareness and all. And we believe that as we are doing this discussion, a lot of people will be hearing, and then they will help adjust their lifestyle. In fact, diabetes is not about going to the hospital getting medication. It is basically about your lifestyle. It is, if you are able to manage your life, you are careful of everything every day. Whatever you do, you take into account that, hey, I can get diabetes. It will help you a lot. It will help you prevent you from getting. And diabetes, one thing about it is better to prevent than to get it. When you get it, fine, you can control it, bring it to a minimum level, but it's better to prevent it. Yes. So God willing, like I said yesterday, we'll be doing this every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. Hopefully, may God give us the energy and the strength to be consistent in everything. I work during the week, so I can only make time on weekends from this time going, from 10 p.m. going. I give 9 p.m., but normally 10 p.m. is better because people join a lot to hear what we have to say. So from next week going, I'll be inviting some experts to talk about certain areas, discuss some of the health and well-being topics. Like I said, my background is health and safety, food safety, occupational health and safety and health at work. That's what I do. I'm also into a food safety specialist. So we'll be having more topics in these areas where I can discuss issues that are concerning these areas, or that concerns my background and all. So on this note, since tomorrow is Monday, we'll have to start a new week, a new day. I'd like to leave you, and hopefully next week we'll meet again, God willing, with a different topic on its own. We'll go into depth. We'll go into depth and discuss that topic. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll answer before we close for today. Any question you want to find out. I've explained the type of diabetes. I spoke about type 1, type 2 gestational diabetes. I spoke about some of the symptoms of diabetes. I spoke about the treatment. I spoke about how to manage some of the things you have to look out for when you are diagnosed with diabetes, how to control it, how your lifestyle can actually impact your health when you have diabetes. If you have any questions, kindly ask. I am waiting for questions. Yes, about diabetes. If you have any question about diabetes, kindly ask, then I'll help you. If your mom is if she's diabetic, what would you do to help her get her health back and become, healthy? If your husband is diabetic, what would you do to help him? If your daughter or your son was born diabetic, what would you do? So it's a lot of it's very important. It's very, very important. So if you have any questions about diabetes, kindly ask. I'll be glad to answer. So with the BMI, there's a BMI calculator you can always get online and it will ask you to input your height and your weight in kilogram, your height in meters, your weight in kilograms. So it's kilogram over meter square, or m to the power of 2. So you will have to change your height. If your height is in centimeters, you know it's in centimeters, change it in meters. Then you multiply by itself. Then you know your weight. When you enter, it gives you the BMI. It gives you the range you are in and all that. So I'm waiting for questions. I want you to share my life and let people join and learn something from this. Yes, because there will be more topics coming in the near future, next week going and all that. I'm waiting for questions. I see Felix appear. I see Emmanuel joining and all that. I see Justice Atta. Yes, Jennifer Lodina Oforoa. Okay. Yes. Any questions about diabetes? We're in Diabetes Awareness Month. So I'm glad I'm discussing this. And I believe that people have learned the little things I've said. These are the basic things you're supposed to know about diabetes. If you know these things, you never get it. If somebody gets it, you'll be able to manage it. It's basically about your lifestyle. It is your lifestyle. How you live it. You should be fine. Yeah. So ask me questions about diabetes. What is diabetes? When you're diabetes, how does it affect you? It can really be costly because your eating will change. You have to buy medications. For those who are type 1, every time they're injecting insulin. When you're type 2, you're supposed to be going to the hospital for some treatment. So it's costly. That's why you're supposed to prevent. Prevention is always better than cure. You prevent with your food, the food you eat, how you live your life. Another serious risk factor for diabetes: smoking and drinking alcohol all the time. If you do that, that means you want to get diabetes. Yeah, drinking alcohol and smoking is it puts you at risk. Okay, if there are no questions, since I'm not getting any question, I believe maybe the next time we meet again we'll have questions to ask. We'll be meeting next week, God willing, and discuss another topic: blood pressure. We'll talk about blood pressure and then stroke. How come some people are just there in the morning, they get up, oh we sorry, I'll talk from now on stroke. Why? How? I'll discuss that. I'll talk about blood pressure, why and some of the causes of blood pressure, why, how you should prevent it and not be on medication, the things you should do. I'll talk about it next week, God willing, Saturday from 10 p.m. going, and on Sunday I'll have a repeat. So I'll talk about diabetes. I've spoken about diabetes today. Next week I'll talk about blood pressure and stroke. Blood pressure and stroke, how it affects us, how to prevent it, All right, like I said, my name is Aminatu Watara, a food safety specialist, health and well-being, a nutritionist. I'm into occupational health and safety, that is safety at work. I'm also into that, and based on these, from my background, I'll be able to discuss most of the health-related issues on this platform. And if you have any questions, you can ask all the time. I'll be inviting experts to throw more light on some areas that I wouldn't be able to give details on, and I expect that you be able to join to support and give your opinions, ask questions. I want to make it interactive. I want to see people asking questions so that we all share ideas. All right, thank you so much for joining. I'm very happy, and I wish you a good night and a blessed week ahead. I pray that God Himself keeps you and protects you. Thank you. Thank you very much.